The Great Hall of the Galactic Council had not seen such silence in over 1,000 years. Every seat was filled. Every eye was watching. Every breath was held. The elders had come. No one living had ever seen an elder in person. They existed only in old stories and ancient records. They were the first species to travel between stars. They had watched civilizations rise and fall like waves on a beach. They had seen empires grow powerful and then turn to dust. And for the last 800 years, they had stayed silent, hidden away on their distant worlds, refusing to speak to anyone. Until today. 3 of them stood at the center of the council chamber. They were tall and thin, with skin like silver metal and eyes that glowed soft blue. They wore simple white robes. They carried no weapons. They needed none. Their technology was so far beyond everyone else that fighting them would be like an insect fighting a star. Councillor Veth leaned forward in his chair. He was a Torvian, a species known for their pride and their short temper. His scales were dark green, and his eyes were yellow like gold coins. He had led the council for 20 years, and he did not like surprises. "You have called this emergency meeting," Veth said. His voice was deep and rough. "You have demanded that every species send their leaders here. You have broken 800 years of silence. So speak. Tell us what is so important." The elder in the middle stepped forward. When she spoke, her voice was soft but clear. It reached every corner of the massive hall without any effort. "We have come to deliver a warning," she said. "A warning about the species called humanity." Whispers spread through the hall like wind through tall grass. The humans. Everyone knew about the humans. They had only joined the galactic community 50 years ago. They were young. They were small. Their planet was just one world on the edge of known space. What possible threat could they be? Councillor Veth laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "The humans?" he said. "You break your silence to warn us about the humans? They are children playing in an ocean of giants. They have no fleet worth mentioning. They have no weapons that could threaten any major power. They are harmless." The elder did not react to his laughter. Her glowing eyes stayed calm and steady. "That is exactly what every species has said," she replied. "Every species that came before you. Every species that no longer exists." The whispers stopped. The silence returned, heavier than before. "We have watched humanity for a very long time," the elder continued. "Longer than you know. We watched them when they were still fighting with sticks and stones. We watched them build their first cities. We watched them reach for their moon and then their stars. And we watched them do something that no other species has ever done." "And what is that?" Veth asked. His voice was less confident now. They learned to wait. Veth shook his head. "I do not understand." "Humans are patient," the elder said. "Not in the way that trees are patient, simply existing until they die. Humans are patient like hunters. They watch. They learn. They plan. And then, when the time is right, they move. By the time you see them coming, it is already too late." Another counselor spoke up. This was Representative Myra, a Selvian. Her people were known for their intelligence and their careful thinking. She had blue skin and 4 arms, and she used all of them when she talked. "With respect, Elder," Myra said, "I have studied the humans carefully. They are traders. They are explorers. They build hospitals and schools on other worlds. They seem kind?" "Yes," the elder said. "They do seem kind. That is the most dangerous thing about them." "You are speaking in riddles," Veth said. He was growing angry now. If the humans are such a great threat, why have they not attacked anyone? Why have they not built weapons of war? Why do they spend their time helping other species instead of conquering them? The elder looked at Veth for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was sad. "Because that is how they conquer," she said. "They do not need weapons. They do not need armies. They give you help. They give you trade. They give you friendship. And slowly, so slowly that you never notice, you start to need them. Your economy needs them. Your medicine needs them. Your children grow up thinking of humans as friends. And then, one day you wake up and realize that you cannot imagine your world without them." She paused and looked around the hall. "That is not invasion," she said. "That is love. And you cannot fight love with warships." From the back of the chamber, someone started clapping. It was slow and steady, each clap echoing through the silent hall. Every head turned to look. A human woman stood there. She was small compared to most of the aliens in the room. She had black hair and dark eyes, and she was smiling. She wore the simple gray uniform of a diplomatic assistant. Nothing special. Nothing important. Just another human doing a small job. Her name was Yuna. "Beautiful speech," Yuna said. She stopped clapping and put her hands behind her back. "Really, I mean it. Very dramatic. Very scary." Counselor Veth pointed at her. "You should not be speaking. You are not a council member. You are just an assistant." "You are right," Yuna said. She did not seem worried. "I am just an assistant. I am nobody important. I just bring coffee and take notes and smile at people." She shrugged. Humans are good at smiling. The elder was watching Yuna carefully. Something strange passed across her ancient face. It might have been fear. "You see?" the elder said to the council. "She is not scared. She is not angry. She is amused. Because she already knows what I am about to tell you." "And what is that?" Veth demanded. "It is already too late." The words hung in the air like smoke. 50 years, the elder said. "The humans have been part of your community for only 50 years. Do you know how many worlds have human colonies now? 207. Do you know how many species have human trade agreements? All of them. Every single one. Do you know how many alien children have human teachers?" She paused. "Millions." Counselor Veth stood up from his chair. His scales had turned a lighter green, which meant he was worried. "That cannot be right," he said. "We would have noticed. We would have seen." "You did see," the elder said. "You saw humans building hospitals. You saw humans teaching medicine. You saw humans trading fairly and helping refugees and caring for the sick. And you thought, how nice. How helpful. What good friends they are." She pointed at Yuna, who was still smiling. "You never asked why," the elder said. "You never wondered what they wanted. You just took their help and said, 'Thank you.'" Yuna laughed softly. It was a warm sound, friendly and gentle. "We wanted to help," she said. "Is that so hard to believe? Is it so impossible that humans might actually be good?" "No one is that good," Veth said. "Maybe not," Yuna agreed. "Or maybe we just understand something that other species do not. And what is that?" Yuna's smile grew wider. "The strongest chains are the ones you put on yourself. If I force you to do something, you will fight me. You will hate me. You will wait for your chance to be free. But if I help you, if I make your life better, if your children grow up happy and healthy because of me," she spread her hands, "then you will fight to keep me. You will protect me. You will love me. And you will never even realize that you have given me everything." The council chamber exploded into noise. Species that had not agreed on anything for centuries were suddenly united in their shock and anger. Veth was shouting. Mira was speaking quickly into her communication device. Guards were moving toward Yuna, but Yuna just stood there, calm and patient, watching it all with those dark, gentle eyes. The elder raised her hand, and somehow, That simple gesture brought silence. "We came to warn you," the elder said. "But I see now that our warning comes too late. The humans have already woven themselves into your lives. Removing them now would cause more damage than keeping them." She looked at Yuna one last time. "We tried," the elder said. "Remember that. When the future comes, remember that we tried to warn you." Then the three elders turned and walked out of the chamber. They moved like ghosts, silent and graceful, and no one tried to stop them. When they were gone, every eye in the room turned to Yuna. She was still smiling. "Wow," she said cheerfully. "That was exciting. Does anyone want coffee? I just learned how to make a lovely Torvian blend. It is very good for stress." No one answered. No one moved. Yuna shrugged and turned to leave. "Think about what the elders said," she called over her shoulder. "Think about whether you really want to live in a galaxy without humans. Without our hospitals. Without our schools. Without our trade ships and our engineers and our teachers." She paused at the doorway. "We are not going anywhere," she said. "We are already everywhere. And we are very, very patient." Then she was gone, and the council was left alone with their fear and their confusion, and the terrible realization that everything the elders had said was true. That humans had not conquered anyone. They had not fired a single shot. They had just helped. And helped. And helped Dodd, and now it was too late to stop them. Counselor Veth sank back into his chair. For the first time in 20 years, he did not know what to do. Representative Myra was already pulling up data on her screen. Trade numbers, population statistics, aid programs. The more she looked, the more she saw the pattern. Humans were everywhere. They were part of everything. Removing them would be like removing blood from a body. Impossible. And somewhere out there, on 207 worlds, humans were smiling and helping and waiting, just like TH. 3 weeks had passed since the elders delivered their warning. 3 weeks of emergency meetings and secret discussions and growing panic. And Representative Myra had not slept properly for any of them. She sat in her office on the council station, surrounded by floating screens filled with data. Her forearms moved constantly, pulling up charts and reports and statistics. Her blue skin had turned pale from exhaustion. Her eyes burned from staring at numbers for too long. But she could not stop, because the more she looked, the worse it got. "Computer," she said, her voice tired and rough. "Show me human trade routes. All of them. Overlay with essential resource transport." The screen in front of her changed. Lines appeared, connecting worlds across the galaxy. Trade routes that carried food and medicine and fuel and technology. The lifeblood of galactic civilization. Most of them were red. Red meant human involvement. 83%, the computer said in its flat, emotionless voice. 83% of essential trade routes now include human traders, human ships, or human-designed logistics systems. Myra closed her eyes. When she had started this investigation, she thought the elders were exaggerating. She thought they were being dramatic. Ancient beings who did not understand the modern galaxy thought she was wrong. She opened a new file. Medical research. The latest treatments for diseases that had killed millions for centuries. New cures. New techniques. New technologies that were saving lives across 1,000 worlds. 70% had human involvement. Human researchers. Human doctors. Human funding. Education. Children across the galaxy, learning science and art and music. 64% human teachers. Human schools. Human educational programs. Refugee aid. Disaster relief. Poverty assistance. 89%. 91%. 94%. Humans. 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 Everywhere she looked, they were there. Not with armies. Not with weapons. With help. A soft chime announced a visitor. Mira waved her hand, and the door slid open. Counselor Veth walked in. He looked as tired as she felt. His green scales were dull, and his golden eyes had lost their usual fire. "Tell me you found something," he said. "Tell me there is a way to stop this." Mira gestured at the screens around her. "Look for yourself." Veth walked through the floating data, his eyes moving from chart to chart, number to number. With each step, his shoulders dropped a little more. "This cannot be real," he said quietly. "It is real," Myra replied. "I have checked everything 3 times. The humans are part of everything. If we tried to remove them tomorrow, half the galaxy would collapse within a year. Then we do it slowly," Veth said. "We reduce their influence over time. We replace them with our own people." "With what people?" Myra asked. "Veth, do you know why humans took over so much of the trade network? Because they were better at it. They were more reliable. They were faster and cheaper and friendlier. Other species could not compete." She pulled up another chart. "Look at this. Torvian trade companies tried to challenge human traders 15 years ago. Big investment. Government support. Everything they needed. Within 3 years, they were bankrupt. Not because the humans cheated. Because the humans were just better. Better how?" "They smile," Myra said. "They remember names. They ask about your family. They send gifts on holidays. They make you feel like you matter. And when you have a choice between a Torvian trader who treats you like a number and a human trader who treats you like a friend." She did not need to finish the sentence. Veth sat down heavily in a chair. The elders were right. They were completely right. "There is more," Mira said. "Of course, there is. I tracked human population growth across the galaxy. Their colonies. Their settlements. Their expatriate communities." She pulled up a map. It showed the galaxy, and scattered across it were thousands of bright points. Human presence. 50 years ago, there was only one point, Earth, one small world on the edge of nothing. Now the points covered everything like stars in the night sky. "They are not just traders and teachers," Myra said. "They are marrying other species, having children, building families. Do you know how many mixed species children have human parents?" Veth shook his head. "Over 8 million, Myra said. "And that number is growing every year. In another 50 years, there will be billions." "Children," Veth said slowly. "You are telling me that humans are creating family bonds with other species?" "Not creating, growing. Naturally. They are not forcing anyone. They are just living, falling in love, having babies, being parents." She showed him pictures. A human father holding his Selvian daughter. A human mother reading to her Torvian son. Families smiling at the camera, happy and normal and completely ordinary. "How do you fight this?" Myra asked quietly. "How do you tell a child that their parent is the enemy? How do you separate families? How do you break these bonds without becoming monsters?" Veth had no answer. The door chimed again. This time, Myra's assistant entered. "Representative," the assistant said nervously. "There is a human here to see you. He says his name is Jihun. He says he is from the Human Integration Office." Myra and Veth exchanged looks. "Send him in," Mira said. Jihun walked into the room with an easy confidence. He was young, maybe 30 human years, with a round face and kind eyes. He wore a simple gray suit, and he was carrying a small box. "Representative Myra," he said with a warm smile. "Counselor Veth, thank you for seeing me. I know you must be very busy. What do you want?" Veth asked harshly. Ji-hoon did not seem bothered by the tone. I heard you were investigating human influence in the galaxy. I thought you might have questions. I am here to help. Help, Veth repeated. Like humans always help? Yes, Ji-hoon said simply. Exactly like that. He placed the box on Myra's desk and opened it. Inside were small pastries, golden and sweet-smelling. I brought gifts, Ji-hoon said. They are called honey cakes, a traditional treat from my home region on Earth. Please, try one. Neither Mira nor Veth moved. Ji-hoon shrugged and took a cake for himself. He bit into it happily. I understand your concern, he said between bites. Really, I do. From your perspective, this must look very suspicious. Humans appearing everywhere, helping everyone, becoming essential to everything. It is suspicious, Veth said. Is it? Ji-hoon asked. Or is it just different? Most species in this galaxy grew up fighting for survival. Resources were scarce. Trust was dangerous. Helping strangers was foolish. He finished his cake and brushed crumbs from his suit. Humans grew up differently. Our world was difficult, but it was also beautiful. We learned that helping each other made us stronger. We learned that kindness was not weakness but wisdom. We learned that the best way to survive was to make friends. And now you are making friends with the whole galaxy, Myra said. Yes, Ji-hoon agreed. We are. Is that so wrong? It is when you become impossible to remove, Veth said. It is when you make everyone dependent on you. It is when you trap species in a web of need. Ji-hoon's smile faded slightly. For a moment, something older and sadder appeared in his eyes. Let me ask you something, counselor, he said. Before humans came, how many species in this galaxy had access to advanced medical care? Veth did not answer. About 40%, Ji-hoon continued. The rest could not afford it or could not get it. They died from diseases that were easy to cure. Their children died from illnesses that we could fix in an afternoon. He stepped closer to Veth. Before humans came, how many refugee crises were ignored by the council? How many people starved while politicians argued? How many worlds fell into poverty because no one cared enough to help? His voice was still calm, still gentle. But there was steel underneath. We did not trap anyone, counselor. We just helped. We helped because we could. We helped because it was right. We helped because we remembered what it was like to suffer, and we did not want others to feel that pain. And now we cannot survive without you, Myra said quietly. No, Ji-hoon said. Now you are surviving better than ever before. Fewer people dying. Fewer children suffering. Fewer wars. Fewer famines. Fewer plagues. He turned to look at the screens still floating around the room, filled with all the data Myra had collected. You see these numbers as a threat, he said. We see them as success. Millions of lives saved. Billions of people helped. A galaxy that is finally starting to work together. He picked up another honey cake from the box. You can hate us if you want, he said. You can fear us. You can try to stop us. But ask yourself this. Would the galaxy really be better off without us? Would you rather have the old way back? The suffering? The neglect? The endless fighting? Neither Myra nor Veth answered. Ji-hoon smiled again, and this time there was no sadness in it. I did not think so, he said. We are not your enemies, counselor. We are your partners. We are your friends. And whether you believe it or not, we love you. We love all of you. Every species. Every world. Every child. He placed the honey cake in Veth's hand. That is why we cannot be stopped, he said. Not because we are powerful. Because we care. And caring, true caring, is the most unstoppable force in the universe. He walked to the door and paused. Think about it, he said. Really think. And when you are ready to work with us instead of against us, we will be here. We will always be here." Then he was gone. Mira and Veth stood in silence for a long moment. Finally, Veth looked down at the honey cake in his hand. It was small and golden and warm. 6 months had passed since the Human Restriction Act failed. 6 months of watching and waiting and wondering. And now, Representative Mira found herself standing on a world she had never visited before. The sky was orange. The trees were purple. The grass beneath her feet was soft and blue. Everything was strange and beautiful. Everything was strange, everything was strange and beautiful, like a dream made real. But she was not here for the scenery. She was here because of the children, hundreds of them, playing in fields, running through gardens, laughing and shouting and living the way children should live. Some of them had scales. Some had fur. Some had tentacles or wings or too many eyes. They came from every species in the galaxy. And they were all orphans. "Welcome to Hope Colony," a voice said. Behind her, Mira turned. A human man stood there, wearing simple work clothes and a tired smile. He was maybe 40 years old, with gray starting to show in his black hair. His name was Taiho. He was a former military captain who had left the service to build this place. "You built all of this?" Mira asked, looking at the buildings and gardens and playgrounds that spread across the valley. "Not alone," Taiho said. "I had help. Lots of help. Volunteers from Earth and dozens of other worlds. People who wanted to make a difference." He started walking, and Mira followed. After the war on Krexel Prime, there were thousands of orphan children, Taiho explained. No family. No home. No future. The galactic relief programs were overwhelmed. Kids were sleeping in ruins, eating garbage, dying from diseases that should have been easy to cure. His voice was calm, but Mira could hear the pain underneath. "I could not ignore it," he continued. "I had been a soldier my whole life. I had fought and killed and followed orders. But when I saw those children, something changed. I realized that all my fighting had never made the galaxy better. It had only made it worse." They passed a group of Krekan children playing with a ball. They waved at Taiho, and he waved back with a warm smile. "So I retired," he said. "I took my savings, found some partners, and started building. First one orphanage. Then another. Then another. Now we have 47 facilities across 12 worlds, caring for over 20,000 children." Myra shook her head in amazement. "The council did not fund this. Where did the money come from?" "Donations, mostly. Humans give a lot to charity. It is part of our culture. We believe that helping others is the best way to spend money." He stopped in front of a large building. Through the windows, Myra could see children sitting in rows, watching a teacher at the front of the room. "We do not just feed them and shelter them," Taiho said. "We educate them. We heal them. We teach them that they matter, that their lives have value, that they can become anything they want to be." He opened the door, and they stepped inside. The children looked up from their lesson. When they saw Taiho, their faces lit up with joy. "Captain Taiho," a small Selvian boy shouted, running forward to hug the human around his legs. Taiho laughed and picked the boy up. "Hello, Mick. How is your reading coming along?" "I finished the whole book," Mick announced proudly. "All by myself." "That is wonderful. I knew you could do it." He set the boy down and turned back to Myra. "This is what we do," he said simply. "This is who we are. Not conquerors. Not invaders. Just people who cannot look at a hurting child and walk away." Myra did not know what to say. She had spent months studying human influence. She had seen the numbers and the charts and the strategic analyses. But she had not seen this. She had not felt this. A soft voice spoke from the doorway. "Now you understand." Myra turned. Her heart stopped. An elder stood there. The same elder who had delivered the warning to the council 6 months ago. Her silver skin glowed softly in the light. Her blue eyes watched Mira with ancient wisdom. "You," Mira breathed. "You came back." "I never left," the elder said. "I have been watching, waiting, hoping that someone would finally understand the truth." She walked into the room, and the children fell silent, staring at her with wide eyes. "Do not be afraid," the elder said gently. "I am a friend." She turned to Taiho. "Captain, I believe we have met before, many years ago." Taiho nodded slowly. I remember. You visited my first orphanage, right after I built it. You stayed for an hour, watching the children play. Yes, I wanted to see for myself what humanity was really doing." The elder looked around the room. At the children, at the colorful decorations on the walls, at the books and toys and games. "When I warned the council about humanity," she said, "I did not lie. Humans are indeed impossible to stop. But I did not explain why." She walked to a window and looked out at the playing fields. "Other species have tried to conquer the galaxy. The Grothians, 2 million years ago. They built the largest fleet in history and swept across the stars. They ruled for 10,000 years. And then they collapsed, because empires built on fear always collapse." She turned back to face them. "The Valkyrie, 500,000 years ago. They conquered through trade, creating monopolies that strangled other economies. They ruled for 5,000 years. And then they collapsed, because monopolies built on greed always collapse." She walked toward Myra. "We elders have seen dozens of attempts to conquer the galaxy. All of them failed. All of them collapsed. Because conquest is temporary. Fear fades. Greed consumes itself. Power corrupts and crumbles." She stopped in front of Myra. "But love endures." Myra's eyes were filling with tears. She did not know why. "That is what I truly tried to warn the council about," the elder said. "Not that humanity would conquer through force or trade or power, but that humanity would conquer through love. And love cannot be defeated. Love cannot be resisted. Love is eternal." She gestured at the children around them. "Look at them. They have lost everything. Family, home, safety. They should be broken. They should be bitter and afraid and angry at the universe that hurt them. But they are not. They are laughing, playing, learning, hoping." She looked at Taiho with deep respect. Because humans found them and loved them. Humans gave them a second chance. Humans showed them that the galaxy is not only cruel but also kind. Taiho shook his head. "We are just doing what anyone would do." "No," the elder said firmly. "You are doing what anyone should do. But most species do not. Most species look at orphans and see burdens. They look at refugees and see problems. They look at the weak and see obstacles." She placed her hand on Taiho's shoulder. "Humans look at them and see family." A small Torvian girl tugged on Myra's robe. Mira looked down. "Are you a friend too?" The girl asked in a tiny voice. Myra knelt down to meet her eyes. The girl's scales were a beautiful golden color, like sunlight on water. I do not know," Myra said honestly. "I came here to learn about humans, to understand what they are doing." The girl tilted her head. "They take care of us. They teach us and feed us and tuck us in at night. Is that bad?" "No," Myra whispered. "No, that is not bad. That is very, very good." The girl smiled. "I like humans. They are nice." She ran back to her friends, leaving Myra kneeling on the floor with tears streaming down her face. The elder helped her stand. "Now you see," the elder said. This is why humanity cannot be stopped. Not because they are powerful, not because they are clever, but because they make people love them, truly love them. And once you love someone, you will fight to protect them. You will never want to lose them. She looked around the room one last time. 800 years ago, we elders saw what humanity would become. We saw the seeds of this in their earliest civilizations. The way they cared for their elderly, the way they protected their children, the way they formed bonds that lasted beyond death. She sighed. We retreated because we were afraid. We thought that if we ignored humanity, they would ignore us. We were wrong. Humanity does not ignore anyone. They cannot. It is not in their nature. She turned to leave. Wait, Myra called. What should we do? How should the council respond to this? The elder stopped at the doorway. Stop fighting them, she said simply. Learn from them. Let them teach you how to love the way they love. And maybe, in a few thousand years, the galaxy will be a place where no child ever has to be an orphan. Where no one ever has to suffer alone. Where every species cares for every other species. The way humans care for everyone. She smiled. And it was the first smile Myra had ever seen from an elder. That is the conquest humanity is building, she said. A galaxy united by love. It is the most beautiful conquest in history. And I hope I live long enough to see it completed. Then she was gone. Myra stood in silence for a long moment. Then she felt a hand on her shoulder. Taiho, would you like to stay for dinner? He asked. The children would love to have a guest. Myra looked at him. At the children. At this place that humans had built out of nothing but kindness. Yes, she said. I would like that very much. That night, she sat at a long table surrounded by children from a dozen species. She ate food that human cooks had prepared with love. She listened to children tell stories about their dreams and hopes and plans for the future. And for the first time since the elders delivered their warning, she stopped being afraid of humanity. She started being grateful for them instead. Because if this was conquest, if this was the future humanity was building, then maybe being conquered was not such a terrible thing after all. Maybe it was exactly what the galaxy needed. Slowly, almost against his will, he took a bite. It was delicious. And in that moment, he understood exactly what the elders etched. The council chamber was packed tighter than Myra had ever seen it. Every seat was filled. Every balcony was crowded. Representatives from every species in the galaxy had come to witness this moment. Today, the council would vote on the Human Restriction Act. Councillor Veth stood at the central podium, his green scales polished and his golden eyes burning with determination. He had spent weeks preparing for this. He had called in every favor. He had made every argument. He had convinced himself that this was the right thing to do. Fellow council members, Veth said, his deep voice echoing through the hall. We stand at a crossroads. The elders have warned us. Representative Myra has shown us the evidence. Humanity has woven itself into every part of our civilization. And if we do not act now, we will lose control forever. He pressed a button, and screens appeared throughout the chamber, showing the same data Myra had gathered. The Human Restriction Act is simple, Veth continued. We limit human expansion. We reduce their presence in essential industries. We encourage other species to take over the roles that humans currently fill. We do this slowly, carefully, over many years. By the time they notice, it will be done. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of as many representatives as he could. This is not about hate, he said. This is not about fear. This is about balance. No single species should have this much influence. No single species should be this essential. We must protect our independence. We must protect our future. He stepped back from the podium. I call for the vote. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, representatives began to press their voting buttons. Green for yes. Red for no. Mira watched the numbers climb on the central display. Green was winning. Barely, but it was winning. Species after species was voting in favor of restriction. Then the chamber doors burst open. A crowd poured in. Not soldiers. Not protesters. Just people. Ordinary people from a dozen different species. Selvians and Torvians and Krexans and Moldari and dozens of others. They were shouting and waving signs and trying to push toward the podium. What is the meaning of this? Veth demanded. Guards. Remove them. But the guards did not move. They were staring at the crowd with confused expressions. Some of them were even nodding along with the protesters. A Kraken female pushed her way to the front. She was holding a young child in her arms. The child had blue skin and 4 arms, like a Selvian. But her eyes were round and dark, like a human's. My daughter, the Kraken said, her voice breaking. My daughter's father is human. He is the kindest person I have ever known. He works at the hospital on my world. He saves lives every day. And you want to send him away? Veth tried to speak, but another voice cut him off. My business partner is human, a Torvian merchant shouted. Without him, my company would have collapsed years ago. He believed in me when no one else did. He gave me my second chance. Humans built the school my children attend, a Moldari mother added. Before them, my people had no education. No hope. Now my oldest daughter wants to be a doctor. More voices joined in. Story after story. Human doctors who had saved lives. Human teachers who had changed futures. Human friends who had offered help when no one else would. Councillor Veth stood frozen at the podium, watching his carefully planned vote fall apart. The Kraken with the mixed child walked up the steps toward him. She stopped just a few feet away, close enough that he could see the tears in her eyes. You want to vote against humans, she said quietly, but you are really voting against us. Against our families. Against our children. Against everyone who has been helped by human kindness. She held up her daughter. The little girl looked at Veth with those strange, beautiful eyes that were half human and half Selvian. Tell her, the Kraken said. Tell her that her father does not belong here. Tell her that his love is a threat. Tell her that she is a mistake. Veth could not speak. From the back of the chamber. A calm voice cut through the noise. Perhaps I can help explain. Everyone turned to look. A human woman was walking down the center aisle. She was small and slim, with long black hair and a kind smile. She wore a simple blue dress, nothing fancy, nothing important. Her name was Hannah. I am sorry for the interruption, Hannah said as she walked. But I felt this was important. You see, you are asking the wrong question. She reached the podium and turned to face the crowd. You are asking, how do we stop the humans? How do we reduce their influence? How do we protect ourselves from their kindness? She shook her head. But the real question is, why would you want to? She gestured at the protesters, at the mixed families, at the grateful faces throughout the crowd. Look around you, she said. Look at what humanity has done. Not with guns or warships or threats. With love, with help. With the simple belief that everyone deserves a chance to be happy. She turned to face Veth directly. Counselor, I understand your fear. I really do. You see humanity spreading across the galaxy, becoming part of everything. And you think, this is too much power for one species. This is too dangerous. She nodded. You are right. The chamber went silent. Even the protesters stopped their chanting. It is too much power, Hannah continued. Too much influence. Too much importance. If we were any other species, you should be terrified. Because any other species would use that power for conquest, for control, for domination. She smiled, and it was the warmest smile Veth had ever seen. But we are not any other species. We are humans, and we do not want to rule you. We want to help you. We want to lift you up, not push you down. We want to make the galaxy better for everyone, not just for ourselves. Pretty words, Veth said, finding his voice at last. But how can we trust them? How can we know that your intentions are truly good? Hannah nodded again. A fair question. And I have a fair answer. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. She pressed a button, and new screens appeared throughout the chamber. They showed documents, contracts, agreements. These are the internal records of the Human Integration Office, Hannah said. Every plan we have made, every strategy we have developed, every goal we have set. I am sharing them with you freely, without hiding anything. Myra leaned forward, reading the documents that appeared on her personal screen. Trade expansion plans, education initiatives, medical research programs, refugee aid projects. And underneath each plan, the same goal, stated clearly and simply: to reduce suffering, to increase happiness, to build a better galaxy for everyone. No mention of control, no mention of power, no mention of dominance. Just help. We are not hiding anything, Hannah said. We never were. Every hospital we built because people were dying. Every school we opened because children needed to learn. Every trade route we created because goods needed to move. She spread her hands. We did not plan to become essential. We just kept helping and helping and helping. And eventually, we became part of everything. A Selvian representative stood up. But what happens when you stop? What happens when you decide you do not want to help anymore? We would collapse. We would be helpless. Then make sure we never want to stop, Hannah said simply. Work with us. Join us. Become partners instead of dependents. We have been trying to train local replacements for years, but species keep choosing human workers because they are cheaper and friendlier. That is not our fault. That is the market. She looked around the chamber. We are not keeping you dependent. We are waiting for you to catch up. We are hoping that someday, every species will be as good at helping others as we are. And when that day comes, we will step back gladly, because our job will be done. The voting display was still visible. The numbers had shifted. Green was falling. Red was rising. Councillor Veth watched his majority disappear. This vote is over, he said quietly. I can see that. But this conversation is not. Humanity, you may have won today, but we will be watching. We will be careful. And if you ever give us reason to doubt your intentions. He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Hannah nodded respectfully. We understand, Counselor. And we welcome your caution. Watch us closely. See what we really do. And when you are ready to trust us, we will be waiting. She turned and walked back down the aisle. The crowd parted for her, reaching out to touch her hands, to thank her, to cry their relief. The Kraken mother stopped her at the door. She held up her mixed daughter again. Thank you, the Kraken whispered. Thank you for fighting for us. Hannah touched the little girl's cheek gently. We will always fight for you, she said. All of you, every species, every child. That is what we do. That is who we are. Then she was gone. The council chamber slowly emptied. The vote was abandoned. The Human Restriction Act was dead. Mira sat in her seat for a long time, staring at nothing. Finally, Veth came to sit beside her. We lost, he said. Yes. They outmaneuvered us. They turned our own people against us. No, Myra said slowly. They did not turn anyone. They just reminded people why they love humans. And faced with a choice between fear and love, she sighed. Love won. It always wins. Veth was quiet for a moment. The elders were right, he said at last. We cannot stop them. We could never stop them. They were already too deep, too loved, too essential. Yes, Myra agreed. But maybe, she stopped. Maybe what? She turned to look at H. 10 years had passed since the elders first appeared before the council. 10 years of watching, learning, changing. The galaxy was different now, not because of war or conquest or revolution, but because of something much simpler and much more powerful. Because species had started helping each other, really helping each other, the way humans had always done. Counselor Veth stood at the window of his office, looking out at the council station. Ships from 100 worlds docked and departed every hour. Diplomats and traders and tourists walked through the corridors together. Children of every species played in the public gardens. It was beautiful. And it was mostly because of humans. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Come in, he said. The door opened, and Representative Myra walked in. She looked different than she had 10 years ago. Calmer, happier. There was a peace in her eyes that Veth envied. It is time, she said. The ceremony is about to begin. Veth nodded and followed her out. They walked together through the station, passing humans and aliens working side by side. Medical teams, educational programs, trade coordinators, refugee services, all mixed together, all cooperating, all functioning like parts of a single organism. I never thought I would see this, Veth admitted. I spent so many years fighting against humanity, trying to stop what they were building. And now? Myra asked. Now I wonder why I ever fought at all. They reached the Great Hall. It was decorated for celebration. Banners hung from the ceiling. Music played softly. Thousands of beings had gathered to witness this moment. The signing of the Galactic Unity Accord. It was the result of 10 years of negotiation. 10 years of building trust. 10 years of humans showing, again and again, that their intentions were genuine. The Accord would officially recognize the partnership between humanity and every other species. It would create shared systems for aid and education and medicine. It would turn the informal network that humans had built into a formal institution. It would change everything. Veth took his seat at the council table. Around him sat representatives from every major species. And directly across from him sat the human delegation. Ambassador Jihoon was there, older now but still smiling. Captain Taiho had come from his orphanages. Diplomat Hannah wore a simple blue dress, the same as always, and in the center sat Yuna, the same Yuna who had clapped in the council chamber 10 years ago. The same Yuna who had smiled while the elders warned about humanity. She looked exactly the same. Not a single day older. Veth had wondered about that for a long time. Today, he would finally ask. The ceremony began with speeches. Species after species expressed their gratitude and their hope. They talked about how much had changed, how many lives had been saved, how many futures had been created. Finally, it was time for the signing. One by one, representatives pressed their hands to the document, adding their official approval. Veth watched as species that had fought each other for centuries signed together, unified by a shared vision of the future. When the last signature was added, the hall erupted in cheering. Beings hugged each other. Tears flowed freely. Music swelled. But Veth was not watching the celebration. He was watching Yuna. She sat quietly, her hands folded in her lap, that same gentle smile on her face. She did not cheer or cry or celebrate. She just watched, like someone who had seen this moment coming for a very long time. After the ceremony, Veth made his way through the crowd to where the human delegation was gathered. Ambassador Yuna, he said, May I speak with you privately? Yuna looked at him with those dark, gentle eyes. Of course, counselor. I have been expecting this conversation for years. They walked together to a quiet balcony overlooking the celebration below. 10 years ago, Beth said, I watched you smile while the elders warned us about humanity. You were not surprised. You were not worried. You were amused. Yuna nodded. I remember. And today, you look exactly the same as you did then. Not a day older. Not a single change. Yuna laughed softly. It was a warm sound, full of affection. You finally noticed, she said. Beth felt a chill run down his spine. What are you? Yuna turned to face him fully. The setting sun cast orange light across her face. I am human, she said. Just human. But I am a very old human. She paused. I am 417 years old, counselor. Beth stared at her. That is impossible. Humans do not live that long. Your species barely reaches 100 years. We did not, Yuna agreed. Once, but we learned. We grew. We changed. She looked out at the stars. Humanity has always been patient, counselor. We have always been willing to wait for what we want. And what we wanted was simple. To become a species worthy of the galaxy. To overcome our weaknesses. To become something better. She smiled. It took us centuries. We developed technology to extend our lives. We learned to control our worst impulses. We built societies based on kindness instead of greed. We prepared ourselves for the moment when we would finally join the galactic community. And then you came here, Beth said slowly, and started helping everyone. Yes, that was always the plan. Beth shook his head. 400 years. You have been planning this for 400 years? Much longer than that, Yuna said. The first human to look up at the stars and wonder what was out there. That was when the plan truly began. Everything since then has been preparation. She turned back to face him. We knew we could not join the galaxy as we were. We were too violent, too selfish, too short-sighted. We would have destroyed ourselves or been destroyed by others. So we took our time. We improved ourselves. We learned. And now? Yuna spread her hands. Now we are ready. Now we can help, truly help, without hidden motives or selfish desires. We have spent centuries learning how to love unconditionally, how to give without expecting anything in return, how to make others feel valued just for being themselves. She laughed again. The elders were right, you know? We cannot be stopped. But not for the reasons they feared. We cannot be stopped because we have no enemies. We have only friends. And friends do not stop each other. Friends lift each other up. Beth was silent for a long moment. So this was all planned, he said at last. Every hospital, every school, every act of kindness. It was all part of a strategy to... He could not finish the sentence. To what? Yuna asked gently. To conquer you? To rule you? To control you? She shook her head. No, counselor. The goal was never conquest. The goal was unity. The goal was to create a galaxy where every species cares for every other species. Where no one suffers alone. Where no child is abandoned. Where love is stronger than fear. She gestured at the celebration below. Look at them. 100 species that used to fight each other. Now they are dancing together, laughing together, building a future together. That is what we wanted. That is what we spent 400 years preparing for. Beth looked. He saw Torvians sharing food with Selvians. He saw Krekens teaching Moldari children to dance. He saw species that had been enemies for thousands of years embracing like family. You changed everything, he whispered. No, Yuna said. We just showed everyone what was possible. The change came from within. from beings who finally allowed themselves to trust each other, to love each other. She put her hand on Veth's shoulder. We are not your masters, counselor. We are your partners, your friends, your family. We want the same things you want: peace, happiness, a good life for our children. The only difference is that we have had more time to learn how to achieve those things. And now you are sharing what you learned. Yes, that is what family does. Veth felt something strange happening in his chest. Something warm and tight and overwhelming. It took him a moment to realize what it was. Hope. For the first time in decades, he felt hope. What happens now? He asked. Una smiled. Now we keep building. Keep helping. Keep loving. In 1,000 years, the galaxy will be unrecognizable. Every species will care for every other species. Every world will be connected by bonds of friendship. Every child will grow up knowing that they matter. She looked up at the stars. And then we will look beyond. To other galaxies. Other civilizations. Other beings who need help. We will spread this love as far as it can go. Forever. Veth laughed. He could not help it. The idea was so big, so beautiful, so impossible. You really think that far ahead? He asked. We have time, Una said simply. We have all the time in the universe. She turned to go back to the celebration. Counselor, she said, pausing at the doorway. Thank you. For what? For asking. For listening. For finally understanding. She smiled. Welcome to the family. Then she was gone. Veth stood alone on the balcony, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, humans were helping, teaching, healing, loving. They had been doing it for 400 years. They would keep doing it forever, and the galaxy would never be the same. He thought about the elders and their warning. Humanity was already too late to stop. They were right, but now, finally, he understood why. Humanity was too late to stop because stopping them would mean stopping love itself. And love could never be stopped. It could never be defeated. It could only grow, spreading from heart to heart, world to world, galaxy to galaxy, until it filled everything. That was humanity's true conquest, not of planets or peoples, but of loneliness, of suffering, of despair. Vet smiled. It was a strange feeling. He was not used to smiling, but he thought he could learn. After all, he had good teachers now, the best teachers in the galaxy.